Good morning, everybody. So today I have a dinner I'm going to, and we need to make a dessert. So that's what we're going to do in this video. Okay, so I'm going to start by, I've got some apples I've washed here already. And we're going to start by just peeling them. I don't have an apple corer yet, or an apple peeler, so I'm just going to do this by hand. And we're going to cut them into slices. I do have some apple pie filling that I just recently canned, but I just recently canned that, so I'd like to just make this fresh, especially since it's for a dinner that I'm going to. So this pie filling is going to be made a little bit different than the ones we canned, mainly because it's not being canned. When you're canning things, you gotta adjust the recipe. That's what I wanted to say. You have to adjust the recipe a certain way to allow it to be canned. So this one isn't going to have clear gel in it. I'm most likely going to use either flour or cornstarch to thicken this. So I'm going to finish peeling these apples off camera, so you don't have to sit here and watch me peel them. And I'll be right back as soon as they're done being peeled. So while I was peeling the apples, I realized that I didn't tell you what I was making. I'm making an apple crisp to take to my friends for dinner. So I'm just going to start slicing up the apples. I can't believe I didn't tell you that. I thought about it, I'm like, did I even tell them what we're making? I don't think I did. So I peeled them all, took the cores out. Now I'm just slicing them. It's a pretty cold day today for summer. Here in Canada, our seasons for summer are actually quite short. So August is the start of our fall season usually. Well, the feeling of fall. It's supposed to be summer still, but it usually starts to feel like fall fairly quickly. So it's a pretty rainy day as well. So I decided an apple crisp would be really nice. So we aren't going to bake this. Well, I am going to bake it, but I'm going to bake it right before I go. So I won't be baking it for you guys. But I'll show you how to put it together and how you would bake it. So I'm just going to continue cutting these, and then we'll start sticking the rest of the ingredients in. I made this recipe for Christmas dessert last year. It was delicious. Everyone loved it. Everyone but my daughter. She doesn't like fruit in desserts. So this is about 6 to 8 apples that I've chopped up here. I think it's 8 that I'm using. I wanted to make sure there's enough sauce. If there's a little too much, I'll put it in a container and we'll have it on like ice cream or something. This recipe, I decided I'm going to use flour instead of cornstarch. Just keep in mind, if you're canning, you have to use clear gel, not flour or cornstarch. Cornstarch breaks down in the canning process, so you can't use cornstarch when you're canning. But this is going to be a fresh dessert today. Last few pieces here, and then we'll start putting the ingredients together in the pot. I'm doing this directly into the pot because I do have to cook this mixture before I put it into the pan. I mean, I don't have to, but I want to cook it a little bit so it doesn't have to bake as long later when I am going to take this to the dinner. Okay, so now let's add some of the ingredients. So the recipe I'm using asks for 1/4 cup of flour. So I'm going to put that right into the apples here. And I'm going to mix it up. I'm going to put it right into the apples so that it doesn't lump. So I'm just going to mix it right in before I add all of the other ingredients. Because you don't want the flour to lump. So coat all of the apples. Here, I'll show you. So this is what it looks like. You can see all the flour coating everything. And then as I add the liquid and cook it, it will all blend in nice. Okay, so let's add the rest of the ingredients. So we need about 2 teaspoons of lemon juice. I have some fresh organic here. I might even add just one more. I like the freshness of lemon juice in apple desserts. Okay, we need 3/4 cup of regular white sugar. So let's get that. My sugar has a bit of lumps in it right now, but it'll get cooked down, so it'll be okay. So this is a 1/2 cup measure. That. Then we need 1/2 cup of brown sugar. My brown sugar here. This is also a 1/2 cup measure that I have in this. Pack it down, make sure I got all the space out of here. Put that in. I'm also going to need the brown sugar for the topping, so we're going to leave that out. Okay, what else do we need? Cinnamon. 1½ teaspoons of cinnamon. So we're gonna eyeball this. That's about 1.5. I'm going to add a little bit of nutmeg. This isn't in the recipe, but I'm going to add a little bit of this. It's in the topping. I like adding a little bit of nutmeg with the cinnamon. It gives it a little dimension of flavor. Okay, so now let's start cooking this down on the stove. Okay, so I noticed that this recipe doesn't have any liquid other than the lemon juice. So I'm going to add a tiny bit of water to this because I would like it to have like a gooey texture. So I'm going to add a little bit. If we need to add more, we will. This will also help the process of the apples cooking down a bit. I know there's a lot of people that will just put this right into the pan, but I'm going to cook it only because I want to eliminate half of the cooking time because I am taking this for a dinner. So that's the main reason why I'm going to do it this way. But if you want to put the apples directly into your pan, you can do that. I also added a tiny pinch of salt just to balance out some of the sugars and the flavors. Enhance the apple flavor. Okay, so this is a look at what it looks like currently. You see the sauce on the bottom that I poured the water in? So we're going to cook this down a little bit. While this is cooking, we're going to make the topping. So let's do that now. Okay, so let's spray the pan. I'm going to put it in this really nice ceramic baking dish. So I'm going to spray it. I'm going to do this over the sink. Okay, so there it is. It's finished being sprayed. Just set that aside until the filling is done. Now let's make the crisp topping. So I have a 1/4 cup of flour here. We're going to put 1/4 cup of flour. We need about 3/4 cup of either rolled oats or quick oats. I like using quick oats. Let me see here. Okay, dump that right in. And we need about a teaspoon or so of cinnamon. About half a teaspoon of nutmeg. And a quarter of a cup of brown sugar. So this is a half cup measure, so we're going to do half of this. Brown sugar. And a quarter of a cup of regular sugar. So same with this one, we're going to do half of this cup measure here. About there. And all that's left is 4 tablespoons of butter. So I have some softened butter here. You can use chilled as well, it says. I'm doing this roughly because I know this part doesn't matter too much. So I'm going to just eyeball this. There we go. Okay. Give it a mix with my spoon here. Okay, and then I'll show you what it looks like up close here. Okay, so let's start mixing this together. So I'm going to use my hands, and I'm just going to crumble all of this butter into the rolled oats and flour and seasonings mixture here. And you want it to be a crumbly mixture. Like this. So we're just going to make sure we got everything incorporated in here. Just like that. That's perfect. Okay, I'm just going to wash my hands, and I think we need to check the apple filling. Okay. So here's a little update on the filling. I think it's cooked enough. You can see it's nice and thick. I think this is cooked enough because we're going to be cooking it in the oven as well. So let's put this into the pan. Okay, let's get our pan over here. We've already got it oiled and greased. This is what the pie filling looks like. Looks beautiful. So let's pour this right in. Ooh, I think I made perfect amount. I thought I was going to be making too much. Let's just spread that around. So let's put the topping on. I'm just going to kind of even it out a little bit. Now we're going to take the topping and we're just going to crumble it on top. I'm sure many of you either know how to make this dessert, or your grandmother or grandparents have made it for you, or even your mother. And we want to fairly make this somewhat even. There will be spaces. It's not meant to cover it completely. It's meant to bubble up in between. So keep that in mind. I just like to break up the pieces a little bit. Just a little bit. Make sure a good majority of it's covered. It's going to be delicious, I think. And they don't know I'm bringing this dessert, so I think it'll be a little bit of a surprise. And then I also bought some vanilla ice cream to go with this. So you usually want to serve this hot, but it can be eaten cold. There we go. So this is what it looks like. You can see the pieces, like the apple in between. So as this bakes, it's going to flatten out a bit, and then all these apple pieces are going to bubble in between, and it's going to be delicious. So I'm going to bake that dessert probably for 45 minutes at 350. I'm probably going to do that probably about an hour before we go, so it's nice and warm when I arrive. I want to thank everybody for watching and taking the time out of your day to spend with me. I really appreciate it, and I wanted you to know that. Thank you. I'll see you next time. Bye.